Hey, it's those Utah sisters, and in this video, we are explaining the game paper football, or as my students like to call it, foam football. So, we do have two different versions of this game. There's a way that you can pair it if you're doing a very note heavy day or like a longer lesson that you need a lot of active engagement, or we have a way that can pair with an assignment. In this case, it's actually task cards that you'll have pre made. But no matter which version you play, you do need to have these table foam football sets. So we linked them on Amazon right here. This is what they look like. This set that we linked comes with 8 goalposts and then 8 foam footballs. That's what you need. And you only need 1 goalpost and 1 football per group. So 8 probably is plenty for most average size classes. But if you want more, you can obviously buy more. And that's what you need, 1 goalpost and 1 football per group, essentially, no matter which version you play. Okay, if you are determining, like, if you're going to play the lesson version, you obviously need to have notes or whatever you're going to teach, and then spots where kids can actively engage. So that's like answering questions, participating, sharing out, whatever you choose that is. You'll divide the class into groups or tables, and everyone gets 1 table football set. Throughout the lesson, you're going to call on kids to participate. If they participate to your standards, so that could mean they answer correctly or they give a long explanation, whatever you determine, they get 1 kick of the foam football aiming at the goalpost. And so it's just like paper football, where you're going to go about 6 inches away from the goalpost. You're going to put the football on the ground, is what I would do, and then try and flick it up. If it makes it through the goalpost, you earn 3 points for your team, and your table is just going to keep track through the lesson. So I'll just be calling on random kids. Immediately after they answer, they get to take a quick flick of the football. It should take less than 5 seconds. If they make it, they get 3 points. If not, they just set it back down and keep going with the lesson. It should not be a disruption. It's very quick. And then if at any point kids are messing with their table football set when they are not supposed to be, I just reset their team to 0 and they don't do it again. So that's a really easy way to keep kids engaged during the lesson, and it requires very little supplies. Okay, the second way you can play is the assignment version, and this one does require more supplies. So you need 3 colors of tape. I buy the electrical tape from Walmart. It just comes in a 3-pack of like yellow, red, and I think green is the third color, or black, I can't remember, but it's like electrical tape. And then you need colored task cards that correspond to the tape. So 3 colors of tape, 3 colors of task cards. Okay, you're gonna tape 3 lines down on the table. I would type the first one about 6 inches from the goalpost, then like 2 inches past that, then 2 inches past that. So the farthest one would be like 10 inches away from the goalpost. Each group needs to divide their set of task cards into the 3 colors that correspond to the tape lines. Flicking the football from any of the lines is worth the same amount of points. They're all worth 3, even though some are harder and some are easier to flick from. However, the closer line should correspond to the harder difficulty level of questions. So if I think the green cards are my hardest cards, they're the highest level of difficulty, the most rigorous, my green line would be taped the closest to the field goal post, about 6 inches away. So if I choose to answer one of the hard questions and I get it right, I get to flick from a closer distance than if I answer an easier question. Hopefully that makes sense right there. If they answer the question correct, they get to flick 1 football and try and make it through the goalpost. Like we said, any field goal is worth 3 points. If they miss, just nothing happens and they pick a new card and try the next card. This continues with team answering questions and flicking, and then at the end of the game, the team with the most points wins. So once again, let me just explain this. The furthest line should correspond to the easiest difficulty of questions. The closer line should be the hardest difficulty of questions. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, and then I even mentioned the electrical pack of tape right here. It's really easy. You can also create a PowerPoint with 3 columns that correspond to the lines. So if you want to help control the pace of the game, you can just use a PowerPoint with like, it's just divided into 3 sections, like a green section, a yellow section, and a red section. You put it up on the board. Everybody picks 1 question to answer, and then you flick from the line you answered from. So if I picked green, I would flick from the green line. If I picked red, I would flick from the red line if I got it correct. And that way you can kind of control the pace of the game a little bit more if you would like. If you decide to give this game a try in your classroom, be sure to tag us at those Utah Sisters.